Gary and I took a drive through the beautiful Appalachian Mountains to meet famous guitar maker Wayne Henderson. He's made guitars for some of the most famous musicians in the world, including Eric Clapton, Doc Watson, and Brad Paisley. His guitars can sell for over $50,000, and yet he's so humble and friendly, he'll let anyone stop by his shop and visit him. So that's what Gary and I did, and we hope you enjoy this interview. So we heard that you were a mail carrier for several years while you were making guitars?
Yep, I did that like for 32 years. It was a short enough route, and all till I could come in and work in my guitar shop every day. I did that for 32 years, a mailman, but I've made guitars for 60 years.
Yeah.
60 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I've stayed busy at it and backed up, and I guess I got started into it. Yeah. Well, I built my first guitar that I put a serial number in. I felt like was a real guitar, and I made some before that fell apart and having nothing to make them out of or anything. That fella, if you can see his picture right up there to the left of the clock, that fella was E.C. Ball, and he lived in the community. He actually had a little store out here at the end of the road. But he was really a good guitar player, and he had an old Martin guitar.
Yeah.
That I don't know how he got it, but it was because nobody around here could probably really afford something like that.
Yeah.
We couldn't for sure. And but he would let me play it once in a while, and I was just amazed at the sound. Well, I started playing guitar when I was 5. That same fella right there sold one of his old guitars to my brother. It wasn't a nice old Martin or nothing, but it was a guitar that would play and work. And my brother never did play much, but I beat on that thing as soon as it was in the house since I was 5. And he showed me 3 chords, and that's about all I knew for years. It was hard to learn much for a kid back then. Yeah. We didn't have jam programs and stuff like that. My dad was an old-time fiddler. And once I got so I could play those few chords enough to back him up a little. Now we had to work like crazy all the time on the farm. My dad was real, and he didn't believe in not working in any way at all. But when I got so I could do pretty good at backing him up on these fiddle things like that, even if it was hot and working in the hay or tobacco field, you get to talk to him about, let's go to the house and play a few tunes. And it just about work every time. He
get out of work that way.
he would do that, and you got a little bit of rest and a little fun too.
Were your parents around long enough to see how successful you became with making and selling guitars?
My mom was. My dad passed away in the early 70s. I was building guitars then, and he was really into it and everything. But my mom lived to be 94.
Wow.
And she was, I think she was proud of me for stuff I done. And I'd always, every instrument I ever make, I'd show it to her, to get her approval and everything.
Yeah. I saw some video where you pulled out the first guitar you made with the cardboard box.
Yeah. Yeah, that I still have it over in my vault. I've got a guitar collection, and I have that #1 guitar too.
Wow.
I still have it. My mom would never let me sell or rob the parts off of to make another guitar, which would happen to some of them, because it's pretty hard to afford to buy parts to make a guitar.
And when did you make the #1?
In 1964.
64, wow.
Yeah, that's one I thought was good enough to put a serial number in.
Yeah. How old were you then?
I was maybe 16.
Oh my
16,
God.
17. But I wanted a guitar so bad. And
oh, that's why you made one, is just for your
well, that's what we pretty much had to do, growing up on a farm. And once in a while you could order something from Sears and Roebuck.
Right.
Even if I got a store-bought toy for Christmas or something, I would, try to see what's in it and make one myself, because I always liked stuff I made myself better than anything I could buy. And just and growing up as kids, we made our own toys, to
Right.
play with and stuff. And it's always just so much more fun getting a store-bought one,
Yeah.
Do you know how many guitars you've made now?
Yep, I've numbered every last one of them. That one right there that I'm sanding on right now is number 932, I think.
Wow.
932.
And
Wow.
how old are you now?
I'm 77.
Wow.
77.
Do you ever plan to quit making guitars?
Yeah, I really hope to get to 1,000,
Do you?
Yeah.
That'd be the way I go now. I make about 30, 32 a year. That'd be a couple more years, I can do that.
32
If
a
I can
year?
keep kicking and
Yeah.
stay healthy enough to work and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Well, I mean, I don't want you to give away any of your secrets.
Well, no, I don't have any secrets.
Wow. So, where do you get your wood? Is it local or?
Sometimes most of the woods we use and what people want more than anything else is the old exotic woods that martins and stuff were made out of, like Brazilian rosewood. It's something's really hard to come by, endangered species, and any of it you get has to have paperwork stuff with it and that kind of thing, which is a real aggravation where it didn't used to be at all.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays stuff like that are just getting gone,
Yeah.
And there's so many individual guitar builders like me anymore. And back before that, there were companies like Martin and Gibson and Taylor, even more so. And I don't know how many companies in China that uses up so much wood. Martin makes several hundred guitars every day. And I think I struggle to get enough wood to make one every month or something, and it's just amazing to me where all that wood comes from. Like if you was a big company, how would you be able to find that much wood and stuff? But local woods around walnut, cherry, and maple, it grows right here, makes perfectly fine guitars. It's just not stuff that people want, as much. They want the old exotic stuff like the old pre-war guitars were made out of.
What's your preference? What do you think?
Well, I mean, being a fan of those old Martin guitars so much, that of course I like what they're made out of, and stuff like that rosewood. Somebody knew 200 years ago that was one of the best tone woods there is to use, and I think that's the reason they used it, and I still do when you can get it. And for a individual builder like me, you can always find where it's been stashed in the country already and stuff. And I have plenty enough of it to use for my little amount that I do. But if you're a big company and trying to use that kind of wood, you're hurting to try to find it. Mahogany is a wood from Central America. The best of it comes from, and guitars have been made out of that for hundreds of years too. And that's always been fairly plentiful, but nowadays, like everything else, it's been used so much that it's the same deal. You almost can't find it either. And it grows in humongous trees and places like Honduras was just absolutely full of it. There's a picture of a mahogany tree in the 60s anyway, it may still be, I don't know, on their flag. And two forest workers working on a tree is on their country flag, and so that was the biggest deal for them, to exporting wood like that. Companies like Gibson made almost all their guitars out of mahogany, and fine furniture been made out of mahogany for years. And sometimes I find old tables and stuff like that made out of mahogany wood like that, and that's always really good quality wood, and you salvage stuff like that. And sometimes, the right old table or something would make you a bunch of guitars. And it's beautiful wood and aged and everything else. And probably that furniture company 75 or 100 years ago picked out the best wood they could get to to make something like anybody would.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty cool, salvage stuff like that,
Yeah.
How does someone get on your list to get one of your guitars?
Well, I always tell people just to write me a note and tell what you want. So in case I got a chance to work on it or got around to it, I could look at something and know what I'm supposed to make.
Yeah.
That top row up there is all
Oh, wow. That's
Those
all
are
your
your
orders.
people waiting for a guitar that I'll probably never get to,
Oh my God.
I get looking through them once in a while, dig through there enough, you find people that did and everything
Wow.
else. And
Oh my gosh.
and
That's amazing.
I thought it was really neat. It seems like when you read about you, you're just as interested in making a guitar for maybe a neighbor or a friend as you are for someone
absolutely.
like
I've never been.
Eric Clapton
Yeah,
or Brad
I've never
Paisley.
been. I've got to make a few for some people like that just recently. That one right there. That's a pretty big fella right there,
Oh, yeah. Check
Brad
that
Paisley.
out.
Yeah.
Brad Paisley.
So you made a guitar for Brad Paisley.
Yeah, just last weekend.
He was at your festival,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
He came and played at your festival.
And since our last festival too,
Yeah.
I was worried about the crowd being too big
Yeah.
anyway, so we didn't even advertise him coming. And people were shocked when
When he showed up.
he showed up and
played.
came out and played. And
Nice.
and I'm sure it leaked out some,
Yeah.
but I told friends and people, But I've been able, got him, got Vince Gill, Ricky Skaggs,
Wow.
Roseanne Cash, Gillian Welch, Doc Watson of course, Doc was a sort of a family friend.
He was a good friend of yours, right?
And he said he come and did the very first festival he said, well, I'll come help you get your festival started.
Oh, nice.
And that was back at the time, 30 years ago. He was a sort of his heyday of performing
Right.
and playing and stuff.
And Eric Clapton as well.
Yeah, and Eric Clapton, he just wanted to he didn't come play, but he
just wanted a guitar.
wanted a guitar,
Mhm.
And that's a pretty cool deal because I never even got to see him.
He didn't.
He asked for a guitar, and I figured it would be pretty impossible to even. He's a super private fella and don't mingle with people at all, and
Yeah.
goes out and plays, and then he's gone.
Yeah.
And he's always sort of been like that. And I didn't figure even if I built him a guitar, I wouldn't get to see him or give it to him, and which I wasn't all that interested. But a fella from up New York area, New Jersey, was into getting a guitar, and I was thinking about building him one. And he said he's a writer. At the time, he wrote for Wall Street Journal and all that stuff, magazines, papers, and stuff. And he said if he was getting on me for not making Eric Clapton's guitar, said, that's a famous fella. You should make him. Which that don't mean as much to me as the young kid that's learning to pick, down the road that don't have a guitar. But anyway, he kept fussing and said, you need to do that, and said, I'll write a book about it.
We've got
We
that
have your
book.
book.
Yeah, I read it a while ago, and I would just love it.
He done a great job writing that book,
Yeah.
and said, I'll take the guitar to England if I have to, or whatever. And he did. He took it over, and I don't think he even got to see him, but he got to see his guitar tech of 30 years or whatever, and said he's out on tour, and said he'll check it out when he gets back. So,
Wow.
And I made another one, a matching exactly like it with consecutive serial numbers.
Yeah.
And guitar collectors and freaks like stuff like that,
Yeah.
And they sold it at one of the same auctions where Eric Clapton had been. That's how I kind of sort of get even interested in him, and seeing him have those auctions at Christie's where he'd sell for his charity thing, and old guitars that he had used and played, and guitars you wouldn't think he would ever let go of. And but some of them, the old 39 Martin that he done most of Unplugged with, that thing brought almost $1 million.
Wow.
And so Alan said, I've been up there hanging around those things enough till I know the people at Christie's and said we can get him. I think we can sell that other one.
Yeah.
That's a consecutive serial. I'm sure enough they did, and it brought like $31,000.
Wow. So your Wayne Henderson Music Festival has been going 30 years now?
So what we do, we give away money to scholarships for kids to learn to play our old time music and bluegrass and
That's nice.
stuff like that. And in that 30 years, we give away $500,000.
Wow.
$500,000.
We gave away enough scholarship this year to make it even 500,000.
Wow.
That we've done over the years, and I'm trying to figure what to do. It's just so much work to produce that festival, and I have to build 5 guitars to trade people like Brad Paisley to
That's
come
how
play.
you get those people here.
And the contest and the raffle, and we raffle one off that day. You know, I want to see somebody get it that's at the festival.
Yeah.
You know, and they sell tickets, and I'll get up to start with and say, you probably may not win this guitar, but if you make us a $50 donation to our scholarship, you should feel good about that.
Right.
And people buy tickets like crazy. And that guitar last Saturday brought in $47,750
Wow.
in one day.
Crazy.
It was pretty cool. We had a good crowd.
Would you want to play a little bit for us, or would you
Oh
rather?
yeah, I could play a 10. I mean, like I say, my fingers getting old, and I could show you, one of my guitars.
We would love that.
That I have here in here.
That would be great. Thank you. This top shelf is where Wayne keeps all the orders for his guitar. He has so many, he says he'll probably never get to them all.
This one's one of the even number ones that I've kept. It's number 400. Yeah. And it's made out of, Appalachian red spruce in the top.
Beautiful.
Most nowadays, anything like this gets done with a CNC machine, a computer-driven thing. But this one's all cut by hand with a driller saw.
Really?
Even cut the abalone out of shells like those right there.
Oh my God.
That's where it comes from. If you see the inside of it.
Yeah.
Look at that. Whoa.
You see it's this stuff right
that
here.
beautiful color. Comes
And you
from
do that
these
by hand?
shells.
Yeah, I did this one with that saw laying right there.
Oh, this right here is what he's talking about. Right. He's cutting that shell with this.
Yes, with a little hand saw. You see the size of the blade. It's almost nothing,
That's incredible.
That is amazing.
And I sat there, and that little clamp vise right on the corner works with a foot pedal. And you can see the top of it where it's been sawed a blue million times.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Look at that.
My brother made that thing for me, way long time ago. And
it looks like a lot of your tooling and so on is handmade.
Most all of it is. I've got a bandsaw and a milling machine, a thickness sander that are store-bought machines, but most every jig and fixture and stuff to make a guitar, like side benders and stuff like that's pretty much homemade things. Yeah. And this guitar's been played quite a bit, and that is a thing. I don't even know what that is, gargoyle or something. I saw a picture in a book. My friend Charles Welch, that every time I look at that thing, I think of that. I sawed that thing out with that saw, and it laid around here forever before I ever used it for anything. He picked that thing up one day and dropped it, and it broke one of those tails off. Of course, I glued it back and fixed it. I knew it wasn't no real big deal, but that's a good opportunity to give him a hard time.
Yeah.
No doubt.
He's a mason by trade, lays cinder blocks and brick.
Wow.
That's what he does. And I said, that just proves a bricklayer can't handle nothing delicate.
Right.
He's had to hear about that ever since. It's made out of the Brazilian rosewood. All the abalones, that's all cut by hand and inlaid in there. Well, anyway, that's
beautiful.
that's number 400, and I've tried to keep some of the even number ones.
Yeah.
Wow.
Before I ever started doing that, keeping an old Jack Henselwood from the festival down there. That he's one that called and told me you all was coming. Anyway, he's got number 100.
Really?
Really?
I would like to be able to get back somehow.
Yeah, no kidding.
200, same, went to a friend. But number 300, the guy that owns that was here at the festival today, and I told him I'd build him a brand new one for it. And he called back after he got back to California or something the other day and said if I really wanted to do that, he'd do it. Because he wanted me to have that guitar back. He saw the others I had. This one's 400 and 500 and 600, 700, 800, and 900.
Is it kind of hard to give them away or sell them once you?
Well, yeah, sometimes. But I guess when you've made 900 of them, it's not too bad.
You can't keep them all.
And I'd rather see something because I don't need it.
Yeah.
I've got plenty of guitars.
Yeah.
And I'd rather see somebody enjoy it than to keep it or whatever.
So this is Appalachian.
That's the most of that. This is Appalachian spruce.
Spruce,
Right,
okay.
come around here, but that certain one right there is made out of Sitka spruce from Alaska, and there's still plenty of that up there. And they get the Appalachian spruces, even though it grows right here up on White Top Mountain there and everything.
Nice.
It's still really hard to come by because timber. This whole country has been timbered sometime since 1900.
There's not much old.
Not much of no such thing as an old growth tree anywhere in this whole country anywhere.
Yeah.
But there's still some in Alaska that grow the grain that close together. And I'll put this guitar back out here.
That. Man, Gary, this is just amazing. There's Doc Watson up there.
I've got these braces glued on, and I just I headed over there a little earlier, cutting out these little, they call that scalloping or shaving the braces.
Yeah.
These little dipped out places.
Yeah.
And what that does, that's something they did years ago in old guitars, and they made them like this size all over everywhere. Later on, because it protected the warranties more. They were not as apt to swell up or and go something happened to them. Because they're stronger built. But the old days they did this, and it lets that weaker place in the middle thing lets this whole plate vibrate easier. And like lowers the tone a little bit because slower vibrations are more bass tone, and shorter ones, which happens with a heavier piece of wood or more treble sound. And so I'm just getting them. If I get this sanded a little slicker and put one little piece of cloth on the X right there and sign my name in it, it's ready to glue on that.
Oh, nice.
About ready to glue on that.
So you hand sand those all.
Yeah.
You have a pre-German depth or just
they're pretty much a good shape. I feel like now, and you can hear stuff too. You hear the tone like a ring without a string, anything.
It can hear. Yeah.
And sometimes you put a tuner that's got a pitch. You clamp a tuner right here. You got a snark tuner with a good battery in it, it'll read out the pitch.
Oh, nice.
And that's what I think my daughter sort of came up with that deal. She never played much or anything. And 10, 12 years ago, she went off. She went to NC State and college, all that stuff. Then she went to law school. Went to Vermont Law School.
Wow.
And that kind of stuff she had to deal with somewhat.
Yeah.
And she come in here one day and had seen what my guitars bring on eBay and stuff like that, and wanted to know if I would build her a guitar she could sell to pay her student loan. Or I told her, of course, I would, but what she needs to do, you ought to make it yourself.
Oh, right.
And she had never had too much interest in me. She'd come in here at Christmas and use up wood and make cutting boards and Christmas presents and stuff. And she's a wonderful artist to draw and creative and stuff. And I knew she could do that probably better than me if she would, you know. And that's why she agreed. I told her, I'll give you my best wood, my best instruction. It'll be one of my guitars, but you have to do every lick of the work and build it. And usually I have lots of company and people come in. I'd always made her nervous. She'd leave, you know, when people come in. But I told her, you just have to ignore that. You're going to have to work, you know. It'll take you a while to do that. And she'd just be over here on the table with her headphones and told her just ignore people that come in that I visit with or whatever. And she come in, got that guitar about half done, and come in here one day and tickled me to death. Said, you know, I can't believe this, but said, I'm having a good time. And her guitar was turning out, you know, looking good. And she got that guitar finished, and I made her do all the finishing, sanding, and spraying and everything, you know. And that guitar turned out gorgeous. You know, really a good one. Somebody gave her $25,000 for it.
Nice.
And she's been excited about guitar making. Ain't hit a lick of lost stuff, you know.
Yeah. So does she still make? She still makes guitars.
Still makes guitars, and been behind on orders ever since. And she's got I've got a little grand young'un now that 3.5, almost 4 years old, and she has interest in it. She'll go over to the sander and get the pieces out when they come out the back end and hand them back around to you. And
so you've passed your trade on to 2 more generations?
Yeah, and that's pretty. I really hope that works. You know.
I had read that you played at the White House.
Yeah, I did sometimes.
So what president would that have been when you played?
His Clinton were in there then.
Yeah.
You played for
Hilary Clinton gave me a National Heritage Award.
Wow.
It's I guess actually comes from the National Endowment for the Arts.
Yeah.
But that year they gave that award in the White House. I got to go. Do that. Hilary,
you get nervous you meet so many interesting people. Do you get nervous at all?
Well, I guess I would be some, you know. Not bad though, you know.
Yeah, you seem like so laid back.
Yeah.
Hilary was nice as she could be.
Yeah.
And she's the one done the award. Bill Clinton had that next day was that day that they had old Arafat and the guys that got them to shake hands. It's such a big deal, you know, in the Middle East.
Oh, yeah.
That was going on. They had a big old spread put out. He was dealing with that.
Yeah.
And which was happening the next day. But anyway, Hilary was nice as she could be, took time to talk to us. And I've got a picture over there on my wall about getting that. Actually, then years later, not too long ago, I have a neighbor lives over here who was before he retired and everything was head of the transit authority in the city of Chicago, and I didn't know what a big deal that was, you know, till I sort of got to checking and found out, and he knows all them people. And he's over there and saw that picture one day, and he said, "You want me to take that and get her to sign it?" And I said, "Well, you know her?" And I said, "Well, she's busy now. She's Secretary of State, you know, at that time." But said, I still know her, and I can get that done for you if you want it done."
Wow. So she signed it.
Yeah, he had it. It wasn't gone a week or two. He brought it back and signed to me and everything. And I doubt if she done that to any of them then, you know.
Was it true you played for the Queen of England?
Well, that's what they called it, but I believe we were there playing for the crowd that is hoping to see the Queen, I think.
Oh,
she did walk right by and did her thing like that, but she didn't have no clue who I was, I'm pretty sure. And they had all kinds of people, Ralph Stanley and big shots of all kinds there, but I don't think that none of them got to do more than I did.
Yeah.
She came by, they hustled her by, and I do sort of think that when they got up on the steps of the Capitol building there in Richmond, where she was visiting here, the governor, Tim Kaine, I do know him a little bit. He tries to play the harmonica a little bit. I played with him, and I think I saw him pointing down there and everything. And at the time, you know, that I got to do my thing, and I bet he might have been telling her about us.
Yeah,
that's what I figured. I never seen him since, you know, anything. But
I was kind of curious. Do you just let people stop by any time and see your show?
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm kind of curious why you're so busy. You know, why do you let?
Well,
nobody's like you come in here and take your time up. When you're
now my daughter is sort of like that. She don't want to be bothered and stuff like that. But I can still work, and I do most of my work of the nighttime, pretty much.
Oh, gotcha.
I work late till nowadays I don't have the energy you used to have. But I work till about 12 o'clock every night, but I don't get up till 11 usually, and 10 or 11, something like that. So I have quite a bit of time to work because I'm really trying to get something done.
Yeah, you're really friendly. You seem like you like to talk to people.
Oh, I do.
Get to know people.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed that, and it doesn't bother me.
Here's a picture of Wayne being featured on the cover of Rolling Stones magazine. He's made a huge difference in the world of music from his humble shop in the mountains of Virginia. Wayne may be a world-famous instrument maker, but he's also a down-to-earth, lovely human being that cares more about giving to his community than money and fame. It was such an inspiration to meet him. I highly recommend reading the book Clapton's Guitar. I'll put a link in the comments of where to buy it. It's an interesting look into the process it took for Eric Clapton to get a guitar from Wayne Henderson. Please like and subscribe for more trippy travels to hidden gems.